Is burning the American flag a protected form of speech? To find out, you have to read Texas v. Johnson, but it's 23 pages. Don't have time for that? I've got you covered. This is TLDR, where I cover New York Court of Appeals cases in 5 minutes or less. But this is part of a special series I'm doing on landmark cases. Today we're diving into the pivotal case of Texas v. Johnson, with the citation 491 U.S. 397, published by the United States Supreme Court in 1989. The issue in this case is, does burning the American flag constitute symbolic speech protected by the First Amendment? To understand this case, we need to look at the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. The First Amendment is a pillar of American democracy, stating that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. But what does freedom of speech really mean? The Supreme Court has interpreted this phrase to cover a wide range of expressions, from spoken and written words to nonverbal actions that communicate a message. This is where the concept of symbolic speech comes into play. Symbolic speech refers to actions that are meant to deliver a message without the use of words. For example, burning a flag, wearing an armband, or even staging a silent protest. These are all forms of expression protected under the First Amendment so long as they don't incite violence or pose a real threat to public safety. Now that we've set the legal backdrop, let's delve into the facts of the case. Our story begins with a man named Gregory Lee Johnson during the 1984 Republican National Convention in Dallas, Texas. Johnson, a known political activist, decided to express his opposition to the Reagan administration and certain corporate entities. His chosen method? Burning an American flag right outside the convention building. Now, flag desecration was considered a crime in Texas, and Johnson's act didn't go unnoticed. He was promptly arrested and charged with violating the Texas Venerated Objects Law. This law prohibited any intentional or knowing desecration of a venerated object, including the American flag, if such action were likely to incite anger in others. Johnson was convicted and sentenced to 1 year in prison and fined $2,000. This arrest and conviction didn't sit well with Johnson, who believed his First Amendment rights were being violated. He decided to fight back, appealing his case. This incident led to a legal battle that would reach the highest court in the land. Johnson was tried and convicted under Texas law, but he didn't stop there. Not willing to accept the initial verdict, Johnson took his case to the Texas Court of Appeals. The court, however, upheld the conviction, leaving Johnson with one last resort, the United States Supreme Court. Johnson filed a petition for writ of certiorari, a formal request for the Supreme Court to review the case. In a move that stunned many, the Supreme Court agreed. This was a clear indication that the highest court in the land saw something significant in Johnson's case, something that warranted their attention. And with that, the stage was set. The legal battle had made its way to the top. Then came the Supreme Court's decision, which would make legal history. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Johnson. The court found that Johnson's act of flag burning constituted symbolic speech protected by the First Amendment. Justice Brennan, writing for the majority, argued that the government could not prohibit expression simply because it disagreed with its message. Judge Brennan discussed that fighting words could be regulated, which are words that would likely provoke the average person to retaliation, and thereby cause a breach of the peace. But burning a flag did not constitute fighting words. Judge Brennan rejected Texas's argument that Texas had an interest in preserving the flag as a symbol of national unity. Rather, the court held that the First Amendment cannot require citizens to adopt the political beliefs selected by the government. However, the decision was far from unanimous. Chief Justice Rehnquist, in his dissent, argued that the flag's unique status as a symbol of national unity outweighed the minimal burden on free expression. He was joined by Justices White and O'Connor. Meanwhile, Justice Stevens also penned a separate dissent, focusing on the flag's role as an emblem of national loyalty. The court's ruling sparked a national debate over the limits of free speech and the sanctity of national symbols. Despite the dissenting voices, the majority held firm in their conviction that the First Amendment's protection of free speech was paramount. This ruling was indeed controversial, but it had significant implications. The impact of Texas v. Johnson was far-reaching. This landmark case helped redefine the interpretation of the First Amendment, affirming that expressive conduct like flag burning can be as potent as words in conveying a political message. It set a precedent, influencing subsequent cases, by establishing the principle that the government cannot prohibit the expression of an idea simply because it is offensive or disagreeable. So the next time you hear about a free speech controversy, remember Texas v. Johnson, and that's your legal briefing in under 5 minutes.
If you like what you just saw and want to see more just like it, please hit like or subscribe to let me know.